Mark, Chantel, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having us.
You are quite welcome. It's great to see you both again. The three of us and Nikki, obviously, we go way back, going back to when we all worshiped together in Columbia, Missouri. So it's always great to see you guys, and it's always great to spend time with you. So how's the family? How's life treating you?
It's going well.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, we just finished up our school year and
Nice.
started our summer break. So I don't know. It's just kind of like now it's our fun learning.
Yeah, yeah. No, I love that. Yeah, well, being homeschooled, that goes a long way with being able to set your own calendar and things like that. So, well, that's great. Well, I'm really interested in learning a lot from you both. I already have, and but sharing this with people who are listening. So, you guys are killing it on YouTube. You're doing excellent work, and it's just really amazing to see. I was looking at your top homeowners, over 6 million views, 28,000 plus subscribers. So I'm really curious, and I'm sure our audience is as well, just really how all of this began. So I'd love to hear from the both of you. You guys can go back and forth, however you want to share. How did you guys get started with YouTube?
So I'll start by saying that she tried to get me started on YouTube before I was convinced that I should do it. So we at our old house the house that we used to live at, it was built in the 60s, and we spent a lot of time renovating it. We spent a lot of time doing different home projects and something that we like to do on the side. I used to be an IT guy, right? And then Chantel, and we're still realtors, but we like to do hands-on home improvement projects too, and just add value to our house. So we're doing all this work, tearing out the kitchen, tearing out the bathrooms and everything, and you were trying to convince me to do something with that.
Well, so we used to have someone that lived with us that inspired our boys also to put things on YouTube, and just like that was their bonding time. And
Okay.
so then the boys really wanted to, so we kind of started a gaming channel for them when they were 6 and 3, I think.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
it's our initial intro, and it's funny to go back and watch it. It's just cute, but it's
Yeah.
also so much change.
Yeah.
And between that and then he did finally record a video and had posted it to his personal thing. And I'm like, you really should just take this and take it to the next level when we started the bathrooms. Because what I was doing is using, like, our kitchen remodel is on a blog that I used to maintain a little bit.
Mhm.
And different things, like I think we did a dog house and like a fence at our first house, and just these little things that kind of added up. And then when it came to the bathrooms, it's like, okay, that one video took off, so maybe we should try and look into this a little bit more for that and see how it goes.
Two things, Chantel. How long did it take to convince him to do that? And then how fast did the video take off?
Well, it took probably, what is it, 3 years from our kitchen remodel, which was right before he moved in,
Mhm.
to because I think Top Homeowner took off in 2018. It's when when we first started that channel.
Yeah.
That video, though, on his personal side took off almost right away. Like, it was a surprise. I don't think we even checked it. And then all of a sudden, within 3 months, it's like,
Yeah, and it was one of those things too that, she had been talking to me, trying to convince me to record the stuff that we're doing and everything. And I came into this issue with the kitchen where we're putting the new cabinets in place. And when you put new cabinets in place, you're supposed to base everything off of the corner cabinet, right? So it's kind of like the cornerstone for your base cabinets.
Yeah.
Well, the cabinet that we purchased, which is very common, it's just a face frame. So you just have the nice fancy part on the front, and then the backside, it's a Lazy Susan cabinet. So the backside is just a tube. It's just literally like a cardboard tube. And so you put it in the corner, and what does it want to do? It doesn't want to sit square. It falls over, right? Because there's nothing holding it. You need the other cabinets to support it. So what I ended up jerry rigging something to help make it square in the corner, so I can do what everybody talks about, which is starting in the corner and basing everything from that. So I got that all set up. Couldn't find anything online. Couldn't find any information on this setting up this cabinet on YouTube anywhere. Like, there was no information. So I jerry rigged this thing, and then I was like, you know what? I probably should make this a video. Let me record it. And I started thinking about, oh, well, let me figure out what I need to say. Let me figure out how I need to do the lighting. Let me figure out all these things started entering my brain. I was like, no. If I go down that path, I'm not going to do it. So I just pulled my phone out, recorded it. I just talked for a few minutes, like 4 or 5 minutes, and then put it out there. And then next thing you know, we're getting comments from people saying, oh, thank you very much. I had the same problem. You're a lifesaver, all these things. And then that was kind of that defining moment. That's like, wow, this is really great. Like, we love to help people. Right. And so being able to do that on a larger scale, and really helping people, get some more value and get them unstuck and things like that. It was kind of that moment where, like, okay, this is going to be bigger. We need to, focus on this more.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, that's awesome. So I love this idea to just get started, where there's so many different details that you can kind of become overwhelmed with if not careful, but you just got started with your cell phone. And this is going back to 2018, right? You said 2018 when this was recorded. So, I mean, there's a lot
that
of
video itself was actually 2014.
2014. Okay. Yeah.
That, I mean, that because the Top Homeowner channel didn't start till 2018.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
This
Okay.
video itself was live on his channel when we redid our kitchen in 2013, 2014.
Gotcha.
And then things kind of, like I said, we had some life changes where we had someone move in with us. And then, when he moved out, that was when it's like, okay, we're back to, like, what do we do? Because we used to game with him. We went to, like,
So I might need to fill in, like, people in as to who
I
you're
guess we
talking
should.
about.
I
You don't have to mention names if you don't want to.
Well, I don't know. Do you think he's fine with it?
Probably.
Cantrell Brothers. He used to play for linebacker for Mizzou, and at that time, Mizzou allowed the team to, like, the players to live with families to help keep them a stable,
good environment,
and things like that. Yeah. And so he lived with us, and it was one of the best experiences. I mean, he's our family, and but the thing is we also we kind of grew up really fast for us. I mean, we got married young. I went to college right away and met him. And so then when he moved in, it was kind of like we reverted back to some of our college days of playing, like, video games. That's what we did. Yeah. And remodeled the bathrooms and things, because when he first moved in, we only had 2 full baths, and he didn't really have a full bathroom to use. And that's kind of where that happened is,
the bathrooms.
That was definitely kind of what happened there is,
sure.
Within the first month he moved in, he wasn't supposed to be there, but
that early.
And it's like, oh, I'm sorry, we already tore out your bathroom. And so, but then, like I said, he would just sit there, because what he would do is watch, like, football plays and video games on YouTube to kind of learn how to get better. And it was amazing. And then he taught the boys how to kind of watch and do that. And it's like, yes, it was a lot of screen time, but at the same time, the boys they watched, and they started learning and putting that into implementation. I can't even say it.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's kind of how it all kind of built onto each other.
Yeah. It wasn't one big moment, I guess. It was more like little things along the way, right?
Yeah.
Kind of led us down this path. So
that's excellent. So Cantrell, how to pronounce his first name again?
Cantrell.
Yeah. So if I remember, he went to the Minnesota Vikings. Is that correct?
He did.
Yep.
Yeah. So for those who are listening, he went on to the NFL. So I'm curious too, and this is good. The idea of just getting started. Sometimes people want to lay out this whole plan of, okay, I'm going to do these 5 or 6 steps, but you guys are just kind of naturally going into this. This is a couple of years before you start your main channel or your biggest channel that you have right now. I'm curious too. What were some of the big video games that you guys played? Are you guys Dragons? What was big time back then for you guys?
League of Legends.
Okay.
Yeah, that was a huge time sink.
Yeah, I mean, and that's what we realized is, and why we kind of, it's like, okay, we got to get off these. I mean, we still played it, and when he would come back to visit or something, we would re-download it, but for the most part, we realized we were spending too much time there and not enough time really. I mean, like our boys would play with us, but
Mhm.
it's just one of those, you got to set boundaries.
Yeah, that's definitely, don't ever start that game. If you're looking to have balance in your life, don't ever start that game, because it's really, it's one of those games where it's like real life sports where you've got to stay up to date on your skill level. Like it's hardcore competition. I mean, it's one of the big esports games too. So yeah, it's highly competitive. It always changes. Yeah, so it's either all or nothing with that, and it's nothing for us now. So.
Now it's Minecraft.
Now it's
Well,
Minecraft.
on occasion,
Yeah.
on occasion with
You
the
got to
boys.
clarify that, right?
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
So fast forward then a couple of years. This started out 2013, 2014 with remodeling. Now it's 2017, 2018. When did you decide to create Top Homeowners? What were some of those initial challenges, if any, as you got started with that?
I think, well, I mean, there's been a lot of challenges along the way. I think when we first started the channel, it was just a big product of figuring out what are we going to talk about, right? What topics are we going to talk about? It's one thing when you go from, one video that, you knew you had a problem with and you just decided to film, to how can you actually turn this into more videos, more of a series, more of a thing that, people are actually going to, pay attention to. And I won't say that we've got it completely figured out yet, because it's always a learning process. But just getting that initial idea started, those initial video ideas going, and then sticking to more of a schedule. Like in the beginning, we started publishing a video every 2 weeks was the schedule that we ended up sticking with, at least on the home improvement channel. And then since then we increased it to once a week. And then last year, probably 6 months of last year, we increased it to 3 videos a week on Top Homeowner. And since then we scaled it back again. So we're going back to the one a week schedule, partly because we're trying to do other things other than just home improvement. And the other reason is, there is a lot of content that we could talk about in the home improvement space, but at the same time, if you're doing things like project videos with home improvement or things like that, there's a lot of expense that can be involved up front, with doing that kind of stuff, as well as time. So if you're filming a big project video, that could take a lot of time to put everything together, orchestrate it, film it, and everything. Like, for example, we replaced a stone on the front of our house last year because it was a $40,000 project that we got bid to us. That it was because the stone was falling off the front of our house, right? It was installed improperly, 12, 13, 14 years ago, whenever the house was built. And so insurance wouldn't pay for it, right? Because it wasn't an event. It was just improperly installed. So we had to pay for it. And so what we ended up doing is we ended up doing it ourselves, and we took a $40,000 expense and we reduced it to about $8,000 or $9,000.
Yeah.
But we had the time invested in it too, right? So we ended up recording everything as we went, but I'm still trying to put together all that footage because it's a lot of all the steps that we went through, all the different things, and making it a video to where it's easy to follow and understand what the process is. So something like that, one of those big videos, it takes a while to execute on. So sticking to a schedule of once a week or even 3 videos a week is really difficult when you're doing those bigger videos. Some people are just fine with it. Some people like us, it's just a lot, right? So trying to find that balance.
We're learning as we go. And on top of that, I mean, not even just thinking about the big projects. Let's just say, building like a little playhouse for our kid. That video took, people constantly ask us, well, how long does it take you to put together this, playhouse? I'm like, well, the problem is we're recording it. So we're having to actually stop, redo it, maybe make sure the angles are right, or, just like we're having to really plan out every little step. So what really is supposed to be maybe a 4-hour project turns into like 2 days at least.
Yeah.
I mean,
That's
and
what I
so
was curious about, like, as you're making this, with timing and editing. So thank you for sharing that. That's really fascinating. So something that could be done really, really fast. It certainly changes if you have to go back and record. I'm curious too. A couple of questions just arose just when you guys were sharing this. You said every 2 weeks with your schedule, you went from every 2 weeks to once a week to 3 times a week. What was the rationale behind that? Was that due to the algorithm? Was that, hey, we just want to get more content out to build the audience? Was that we're just super excited and we just want to keep going? You know,
Yeah.
what was that? What was the thought process behind that?
Yeah, that's a great question. So the thought process is really just getting more content out there.
Okay.
So building up our content library, because what we've taken for the most part has been more of a search-based approach to YouTube, which in order to have things for people to find, you have to have stuff out there, right? So the thought process was the more we have out there, the easier it's going to be for people to find the channel. And also the more likely we're going to have a hit again, in terms of a video that takes off. Because I really look at YouTube as kind of this, I use the baseball analogy a lot with YouTube, because you might have perfect conditions, you might know how to hit a home run, right? But it doesn't mean that every time you go up to bat, you're going to hit the home run. You might strike out, you might get on first base, you might get to third. It just depends, right? But you've got to, the more times you can get up to bat, the better your chances are, and the more you're going to improve along the way. So sometimes, we spend a lot of time putting together a video and it just doesn't work out for whatever reason. And there's things that you can learn as you do that, right? You might say, oh, well, I can see based off the analytics, people stopped watching here, or people aren't clicking on the video to watch it. So all those are indicators as to what you can do to maybe make it improve. Either that video maybe can make some changes to it, or future videos, right? Learn from what you've done. And at the same time, you might just have a video that people just really aren't interested in. You might put something out that just doesn't resonate with people for whatever reason, and you'll never figure out why. It is what it is. So the more times you can put your content out there, in my opinion, the better when it comes to a search-based strategy.
Well, and on top of that, sometimes some videos will take off. You put it out there and it's a dud, but then 6 months later,
That too,
it just all of a sudden takes off.
Yeah.
Or for instance, on our adventure channel, we'll notice that it's a seasonal. So we'll put out do fall activities, for instance. We'll be doing all those fall activities. Well, while we're doing it, yeah, they may kind of have a little boost. It's the next year though, usually about 2 months before the fall really hits, when people are really getting into it, that they start looking for, okay, what can I do with this fall? What activities can I do with my kids? And then all of a sudden we will see those shoot up.
Yeah.
So I have started learning how to base things, even for top homeowner organization, or winterize, or like your gardening stuff and things like that. There's certain time periods that you're going to see that all take off.
Yeah.
So this
definitely. Yeah.
Oh, go ahead. No, sorry, no, go ahead.
I was just going to say that definitely leveraging trends wherever you can is huge, right? And so those would be seasonal trends that we're tapping into. It could be trends in pop culture that you can tap into to help get you more exposure on a video. Like we did a video on reviewing a local theater, right? And so we based it off of the Super Mario Brothers movie that came out, right? So we're reviewing
you gotta tell me more about that. How did this review of the theater, how did you base it? Are you saying you did the review when you went to the movie to see Mario Brothers? Tell me about that. I'm curious. Basically
what it was is that the boys have been dying to go to Super Mario Brothers movie, and it's like, okay, what level package do you go with? Do you do IMAX? Do you do just the regular? Do you do the reclined and heated seats, or do you do the 4D, which is the moving chairs and the air and all that kind of stuff? Well, we decided to go ahead and do that one, and we did matinee, so then we could leverage the expense too. But yeah, I mean, we just went in and we surprised the boys with it and said, okay, this is what we're doing today. And go in, and we didn't show anything except for the poster of the Mario Brothers and talk about the movie. I mean, like very vaguely, but just like we're going to it, and then their reactions to the experience about it. I mean, because of course we didn't want to record anything in the theater necessarily.
We didn't record the movie. That wasn't the strategy.
But at the same time, the reactions to the chairs moving, or just different scenes kind of thing. I'm trying to think.
The experience of going in, what the theater looks like, buying the refreshments, that kind of stuff. So,
So
it was the overall experience.
Right. It wasn't even about the actual theater as much as that particular room that we went into, the 4D. And that one we posted, I mean, that we did that the week that Mario came out, which was what, April 6th, I think. And we decided to go ahead and just push through and post that same day. And which is a difficult thing typically to do, is to record and publish all in one time.
Especially when you squeeze a movie in.
Yeah, yeah.
And but anyway, we came back and got that, and it's up to over 700 views in the last, and for a smaller channel, because this channel is only about 1,500 subscribers.
Yeah.
But at the same time, we
Oh my
had
God, I'd love 1,500 subscribers.
Well, yeah.
That's pretty legit.
but at the same time, the theater actually has reached out to us and things like that,
Really?
and thanking us for what we did. So I mean, it's kind of like, it's not like we're looking for a whole lot. But it's nice to see those recognitions there.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
And just to clarify, because I know we switched channels, right? Because
Oh,
we have
yeah,
multiple
sorry.
channels.
It's
So that's
okay.
not, just to make sure everybody's clear, that's not our home improvement channel. We didn't do the Mario movie on the home improvement channel. that was for our family channel. So where we talk about different adventures and activities that we can have, or
Yeah.
we can do as a family. And that the slogan for that channel is connecting offline, right? So that way, people can build stronger bonds, with each other, that's going to last a lifetime, versus just spending all of your time on the internet or on games, right? Like it's so easy to do.
Like Minecraft or something like that, right?
Yeah.
So this is fascinating. So I'm taking some notes. That's what I'm doing. I'm looking down here and looking at some of my notes too. So just through 20 minutes or so, I'm seeing a strategy here. Just get started. Figure out what you're going to talk about. Figure out your schedule. Produce a lot of content to get it out there. Be patient. Know the trends. And then what you just said, be specific. So you don't put Mario Brothers on Top Homeowners. You put it on a unique channel. And I think that's something important too. One of my challenges has been, at times I want to talk about everything, so I'll just post stuff on my one channel. But you're saying there's a benefit, and really, I guess, even value for people who are going to follow you, just to keep that content streamlined for each channel. Is that correct?
Yeah, you really have to keep the audience in mind. Like, who are you attracting with your channel? Like, who do you want to talk to? So like for home improvement, it's people that own homes, right? And you can have a wide range of age range and demographics with that. They may have kids, they may not, right? So it just kind of depends. With the family channel, you think about more of like home or family type activities, right? So things that families would be interested in, like different hotels that we stay at, different restaurants that they might want to eat at, things like that. And so, yeah, you definitely want to have that separation, because you don't want to have, like, on the home improvement channel, for example, going back to that, see if I started doing videos on car repair, right? It doesn't really quite fit. I mean, it's a person that likes to do their own stuff, like the handyman type activities, or making their home better for, in whatever way, but they may or may not be interested in car repair, right? It tends to be like, what I've seen is, I tend to see people that like doing home improvement work and people that like doing car repair work. And you have some crossover with that, but it's not as significant as those two buckets independently, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So you don't want to confuse your audience. You don't want to start talking about cooking one week and then skydiving the next week. It doesn't really, like, your subscribers are going to be like, what is this? Like, why do they even subscribe to this channel?
Mm-hmm.
Right. So you want to try and make that as clear as possible, or at least have the connections in place to where you understand, yes, it's maybe a little bit outside the norm, but it does still relate. So like maybe, for example, if we wanted to do a take on the Super Mario movie on the home improvement channel, we might do something like how to remake your kid's bedroom into Super Mario theme or whatever.
Or make your own theater.
Make your own theater. Yeah, exactly. Why spend money going to the theater to see Super Mario Brothers when you could just have your own better experience at home? And this is how you would put that together, that kind of thing. So figuring out the different angles of leveraging those trends, and then how it relates to the audience that you're trying to reach. Yeah.
Gotcha.
It's just that underlying theme. So again, back to like adventures wise, we what we do is, on Friday nights, we actually do lives. So and that is a little outside of our norm, because our norm is literally hotels, parks, or activities outside the house kind of thing. And let me see, hotels, parks, and places to eat. That's it. And then, but on Fridays, it's more of things that you do at the house. So we'll cook as a family. We'll play games. Like we'll have the viewers suggest games that they want to see us play, like charades or Pictionary and things like that. And then we also get the people that are currently watching, they play and they talk to us the whole time too. So it's a kind of fun, because then they actually, when you're producing videos, we try and keep all our normal personalities in there, but it's a polished thing. It's, you're not going to see me yelling at my kid necessarily on there. Live, unfortunately, you're going to see that sometimes.
Poking, like, stop.
Like,
I'm down. I'm down.
Yeah.
The red button is on. We're live.
Yeah. So it adds that real element back in. That's what you're saying. And I do think, I'm glad you said that, because I do think that's another really important key that I think people are looking for now more than ever, which is that authenticity, right? They want to connect to someone that's real. Of course, when you put together videos and stuff, you have to be, more refined. You have to actually have a plan. You have to know what you're talking about. But those elements, those moments of, not completely removing your personality from the video is really beneficial. Like, you don't want to be monotone, just focus on what you're saying it the right way. I get stuck on that trap a lot because I want to make sure everything's clear, concise. Gotcha. And then what happens is you remove your personality from the video, and then that tends to hurt you too. So if you're doing things like relying on teleprompters or things like that for like a complete script, it's really easy to pull your personality out of that video. And so I'll balance. Sometimes I'll use a teleprompter depending on the subject. If it's a really in-depth subject that there's a lot of moving parts to it, I'll go ahead and use a teleprompter. But then trying to be consciously aware of making sure all my personality isn't completely removed from that. It's a skill. It's like, it's one of those things, the more you do it, the better you get at it, but it's definitely a trap.
Well, and we include bloopers too sometimes. Like, for instance, the toilet seat, we replace the toilet seat, and it includes batteries
because the toilet seat lights up at night, right? So you can see, and so it includes batteries.
And when he was doing it, he didn't read the instructions all the way, apparently, or something. There was something that happened, but anyway, the batteries ended up in the toilet.
I dropped one in the toilet. I was like, oh.
And so we left that in there. And but those are the videos that usually are the most commented on, because people actually feel that connection. It's like, I'm glad you did that because it helped me not do it. Or I watched it, I did it, and I'm like, I should have listened to him.
Yeah. Or what are you thinking? Like, then you have the comments of people that are like, oh, well, you're just dumb. Why would you ever do that? Which you'll get that. You'll get people that just like to troll you and say things. But keep in mind, the more comments you get on a video, the more signals you show that shows YouTube that it's good or bad comments. The algorithm doesn't care. So the more signals it has, the more it's going to promote your video to more people to watch it.
It's just a mental thing. And so you have to, like, we had some horrible comments on one of our videos on Top Homeowner, like rents.
Bad. Yeah.
Right.
And at that time, I was like, I'm done. I don't want to do this anymore. He's like, no, let's push through and just see what happens. And we will actually flip flop. So it's kind of good that we have each other to balance out on this, because that's one of my fears, is all the negative comments and all that. But at the same time, I'm like, okay, while there are negativity going on, there's also the people that are coming to your defense. Or, you're, no matter what you do in life, you're always going to have the people that disagree with what you're doing. Homeschooling, for instance, there's people who are like, I could never do that or whatever. And then there's the others that, might be more extreme on the other side. And it's just like, you have to do you and figure out what's the best.
Yeah, no, this is great. And I appreciate you guys bringing that up. I think those are thoughts and concerns that a lot of people have. I wrote down the word perfection, and you guys were touching on that as well. I do think there is that danger, whether it's the teleprompter or editing. So there's no mistakes. Everything is just perfectly polished. A lot of times people can struggle with that. So I appreciate you sharing that, the two of you sharing that kind of, how do you balance that out? So there is a benefit of working with someone, whether it's your spouse or business partner, maybe, or something like that, to kind of give you some perspective. And thank you for that with the comments too, because sometimes people may wonder, should I turn the comments off? But you're saying no, the more comments you get, good or bad, it's just going to help the content to be found even faster and to get out there more.
Yep,
Now,
absolutely.
with our family channel, we have the comments on there. I also have it where it's held in review. So therefore, my
Gotcha.
kids are not going to see any of that.
Gotcha.
I will see it. Now, will they have those hate comments? Probably. I mean, we haven't had anything detrimental yet. But it gives me a talking point with them. And this is why we don't allow them on social media yet. Because I want to protect them, but I also want them to be realistic in what they're going to experience in life too. But they don't need that in their face every day.
Yeah. Chantel, I want to ask you, when did you know then, going back to Top Homeowners, that you two were onto something big? When did it finally, the light bulb go off saying, oh no, we got to keep going with this?
I don't know. I mean, it kind of runs all together. Like he's sometimes is the one that jumps tracks a little bit. And I'm the one that wants to see things through. So, like for instance, so our adventures with C3 channel, the boys had stopped it. It was actually that was actually the original gaming channel. And so in early 2017, they said, you know what, we're tired of posting. I think we were posting at least once a week, maybe a couple times a week, because it was them just gaming, but they were tired of it. And I listened to them. I'm like, okay, we're not pushing it. We're not going to do it anymore. And so if the kids don't want to be on video or something, we don't force it necessarily either. We'll try and encourage, if we can tell it's more of just being shy, but we won't force them to say something or anything like that. It's more of the family activity. Is we want to, even if they're scared, it's like, okay, let's try and push through this, the fear of heights or something. But it was, I don't know, it's just one of those things of you just kind of roll with it, because then when it stopped in 2020, when we moved here to Kansas City, that's when I'm like, okay, they were actually asking to start it again. And I'm like, okay, let's maybe not do gaming, because at that time he was living in Colombia, I was living here, just because of work situations. And then I'm like, I can't do this all on my own. So we started exploring different parks around here, and then food trucks and things like that. And they love that. And it was a little bit easier. And then that's when we realized it's like, okay, well, this is fun because we're doing it as a family. It's putting us where we're each going out and doing something different.
Yeah.
So, and going back to, it's more of, you just got to push through it. Sometimes, like, I don't know, it's keeping with something, even when it's hard. It's like exercising, right?
Right.
If you just give up because that mile was too hard to walk, you're never going to get to a mile.
Right.
If you actually just take it and every day work a little bit longer, or, taking your breaks when you need to, so you don't mentally exhaust yourself, but just pushing through, it gets better.
Yeah.
And I think that's the thing. I mean, will there come a day when we stop either top homeowner or adventures or something like that? Yes, there will be a day. Hopefully not anytime soon.
Chantel, let me ask you another question. So how do you, and Mark, you can chime in as well, how do you, I guess, balance, the scheduling, the videos, the editing, homeschool? What does that look like for you? Do you have certain boundaries, like, okay, on Saturdays and Sundays, we're gonna not do any editing or work, or one day in the week? What does that look like? And if not, then, is it just, this has just become so routine and you're so excited about it? There's just something happening all the time. How do you find that balance? Because I think, like with the kids, a lot of people feel that as well. Like, I'm kind of tired of it. I
Yeah.
don't want to keep doing it, but then they come back. So maybe it was just they needed a little bit of a break. Your thoughts on that?
So one of the biggest things I can recommend is batch content. So
Okay.
then you can have breaks. So once or twice a year, we'll go and make some bigger trips where we're going to be gone from the house for, a couple weeks.
Big road trips.
Yeah, road trips and stuff like that. And so at that time, we might be filming pretty much every day for adventures because we'll be filming the hotels, the places we eat and things like that. Although when we film, for the most part, it's just like us going out to eat, or I mean, there's a little bit of nuance to it of we actually have to get the room before the kids destroy it kind of thing. But for the most part, it's just us being us. But the thing is the batch content. So then when we came back from Florida, like this last year, we were able to have, I think, 10.
No, it was like 16
videos or something like that. And so that carried us for 16 weeks since we post on a weekly schedule there too. And that kind of gave everyone a break, except for our lives, from having to go out. Now, granted, during those times, it's like, okay, let's think about what else we can record to help keep that 16 weeks, where we always have it. So if there's a week we just don't want to do anything, we don't have to. So there's sometimes we'll go a month without recording anything for that week, for instance.
So whether like when you're traveling, batch, and that's the idea of just recording a lot of videos all at once or throughout that time period, and then you can just space them out so you don't have to do it on a regular basis.
Right. So sometimes people will be like, "Oh, you're in Florida. How's the weather there?" I'm like, "No, I'm sorry. This was actually like 3 months ago. We were in Florida."
Yeah.
So it sometimes surprises my brother or someone that will all of a sudden be like, "Hey, I didn't realize you were in Florida right now." I'm like, "No, I promise I'll give you the heads up if we really are."
Yeah.
Even for Top Homeowner, we batch content too.
Yeah.
We try, I mean, like, and this is where we kind of have a little bit of a difference in scheduling and stuff like that, because I am definitely more of the scheduler, but we try and do block scheduling. So
what does that mean?
So like on Mondays, we devote to, say, adventures. So editing typically is what goes on that day. Social media and things like that, I'll try and get it scheduled to be posted and all that kind of stuff. And then Tuesdays will be maybe like right now, I think it's training day / his personal channel that he works on and edits videos or whatever might entail for that. And then Wednesdays is Top Homeowner. So all day we work on that.
It could be filming, it could be editing, it could be both. It could be just kind of depends on what we have.
Yeah.
Hopper. Planning. Planning's a big piece of it too, right? Because I find that if we don't have things planned out as to what we're going to do, then it takes that much longer to execute, or we don't execute on actually getting it done the day that we're supposed to get it done. So if you can plan things out ahead of time and have a batch of things, at least a batch of ideas that you can execute on, you're not always thinking about, okay, well, it's the day for Top Homeowner. What am I going to do? Right? It's like, it's the day for Top Homeowner. This is the topic. This is my maybe even outline of what I'm going to say, or even my script, depending. And then that way you can start executing on recording and then editing and then just getting it out there. So there is structure to it, but it's also flexible, right? The way we've got it set up to where if we have something come up during the week, if we have to go, do like a braces consultation or something like that, we can go and do that. Because we have that flexibility built into our day. And that's something else that I think is really great. So we'll work on stuff throughout the day. Like we don't have set start stop times. We don't have, that kind of a thing. It's more flexible as to, what we're actually executing on for that day. It doesn't have to be before noon. It doesn't have to be at 2:00. We kind of try and time frame those things, but we have a lot of flexibility there. And it's a lot of times I'll find myself working, or we'll find ourselves working late into the evening on different things. Because in a lot of ways, it doesn't really feel like work. You know what I mean? It's things that need to get done. And so we just work on it.
No, I mean, we still take, like, for instance, we have designated nights where we spend with each child. So like Monday nights is our youngest, and where he'll just take that time for an hour to play video games or sit there and talk and see, I mean, whatever them might be needed. And then I'll take the other two and do like other things with them. And that way they're each also making sure we're spending that time with them. And during the school year, typically we get our schoolwork done is between 8 and noon. And I let the boys work ahead if they want to work ahead. I mean, I have a planner with them where it's like, okay, here's everything you need to do. Whatever you want to work on, I mean, whatever is on that list for that day has to be done. So that sometimes they'll finish their school week within 3 days. And then sometimes, it does take 5, maybe sometimes they do work into the weekend. And we leave our Thursdays, Fridays usually very flexible of, meetings or whatever might need it, or refill days of, well, we didn't get everything we wanted done for top homeowner, so let's work on some of that for today, kind of thing.
Or planning out for the next week or whatever. Yeah. So try to build in a lot of flexibility there. But yeah, definitely scheduling the time with each of the kids we felt was important. That was her idea. And it's been great, because then we're not working so much that we're forgetting to spend time with the kids. Not that we do that necessarily, but having that dedicated time to where we're focused on one kid specifically at a time. And then Friday nights, now it's our live night for our channel. It used to be our family night where we get together and do a movie or games or whatever, just mainly movie night. But now we've shifted that. It's not that we're not doing that, but we changed it to Saturday night.
So we're still spending time as a family on Friday night doing like the cooking or the games or whatever. But since it's also with YouTube, we all have made it where we'll do a movie night on Saturdays, where it's just us chilling on the couch and just doing, like eating snacks and stuff.
Healthy snacks.
That's our
maybe
sometimes
weekends is our nights or days to splurge.
Yeah. So people
that.
who are listening to this then probably come to the conclusion then that this is your full-time job. Is that correct?
Yes, it is. It is correct. Yes.
How long did it take for you guys to make this shift where YouTube and I guess the affiliates and marketing or commercials and sponsors, are able to make this as your full-time job?
Yeah, so that's a great question. It's definitely been a process. I quit working at the university back in or where I used to work back in 2021. Yeah,
no, 2021.
2021. Right, that's what I meant. What she said. 2021. And so since then we had some savings and things built up, and so that kind of helped us float between building up our revenue with YouTube and to, having it cover our full-time income. Not recommending that everybody does that by any means. But for me, the space that I was in, it was just hard for me to have enough mental capacity to balance what we needed to have happen with YouTube and this business compared to what I was doing for a full-time job. So I didn't have the headspace to have everything, to sort through everything. So that we made a decision to pull the trigger and go all in on YouTube. But really, I think, as far as, having enough money to where we feel comfortable with everything, that we know we've got everything covered and all that really happened this year. So that happened right around January. And it's been pretty good since then. There's always going to be ebbs and flows in terms of like, you're going to have good months and bad months. And the focus now is getting our bad months to be, as good or not better than what we had previously, with the career that I was in. Yeah. So there's always going to be that, but there's a lot of things that we haven't executed on, a lot of opportunities that are available to us. I'm getting more into coaching. Like I want to help teach people about YouTube. I've got a lot of ideas that I could execute on with course content, things. I love helping people. As you can tell, we love to help people. And so the coaching and courses is just kind of a natural extension to that, because I do think that there's a huge opportunity when it comes to YouTube and just online business in general, that people aren't tapping into, because maybe it feels like, they can't do it, or it feels like there's too much to do. I mean, we had a lofty goal of replacing 100% of our income with YouTube, which getting from a 9-to-5 job to that is a pretty big jump, it seems like.
Yeah.
But if you're wanting to do YouTube and then just make a little bit of money on the side, not necessarily a full-time income, you don't have to have millions of subscribers in order to do that, right? Clearly, I mean, we're making a living off of, 25, 30,000 subscribers total. So you don't have to have millions of subscribers just to make some extra money. But not everybody knows what to do. They don't know how to do it. They don't know what the steps are. And so I'm really trying to help people kind of get started with that and just really bridge that gap.
Tell us about the coaching program and what that looks like, how people can find you if they were interested in that, because I think that answers some of the other questions that I had as well, like someone who's getting started. So I know a couple of things because you and I have had mastermind sessions, the two of us, and we kind of coach each other. One, don't delete your YouTube channel after you get started. Whatever you do, don't delete it, because then you have to start all over again. So I know that's true. But tell us a little bit more about, what that looks like, getting started and the coaching and all of that.
Sure. So I've got basically what I'm doing right now is I'm just kind of in discovery mode as to what people are needing. I'm really looking at helping people. I've kind of got two ideas. I can help people that haven't done YouTube at all. And then I can also help people that maybe have a YouTube channel that they don't have enough traction with it yet, that they're not quite sure what they need to do to get it to that next level. And so really what I'm trying to do is focus more on the coaching side of those people that have YouTube already. They kind of know the nuts and bolts of, how to execute on things, but maybe they're having some trouble getting those different pieces put together in terms of, maybe hitting those revenue goals or getting their channel to the point that they want it to be. So with the coaching side, basically right now, what I have is I've got a scheduler. You can find it on my website. If you go to beallsolutions.com, it's BEALL solutions.com. I don't have, anyway, so that's because that's my name. So if you go to that, there will be a link on there where you can book a discovery call with me, and we can kind of talk about goals and things that you might be struggling with or you might need help with. And it's really just there just to help people, right? Because everybody needs a little bit of help. And so I'm happy to do that. As much as I have availability for and capacity for, I'm glad to do that. The other thing is, though, for people that are just getting started with YouTube, maybe you have a channel that you really don't have any content on it, or maybe you're thinking about starting a YouTube channel, but you don't know what to do. I have a course that's out on that. And if you go to startyoutubenow.com, you can go and check that course out. I've got a lot of content in there. It kind of tells you the basics of how YouTube works, and it goes through a lot of the nuts and bolts too of how you get your channel set up, how you get your art designed, how you do basics of like recording and editing and publishing your videos. So basically it's everything that you need in order to get your channel set up, from no channel to getting your very first video published. So if you go to startyoutubenow.com, that'll get you to that point. So those are my two avenues right now. I was thinking about having a cooler name for the discovery call with me. I just don't right now. Like coffee with Mark or something like that, but I don't have that yet. So
yeah, no, I love it. That's great. So those are two great options. Beall Solutions, BEALL solutions.com, startyoutubenow.com, where people can go and begin this journey. And whatever you do, don't delete. All right, just hold on. Being patient is probably one of the hardest things. I know that is for me. Your story, the two of you, your story is a great reminder of continue to be patient. And I've heard that from other people as well. A video may take off a year later. So maybe going in with the proper expectations of, it doesn't matter if it's 5 views or 50 views when it gets started. Be patient, make good content, know what your audience is looking for, what you're trying to create, and all of that. We have a couple of minutes left. I want to play rapid fire here. So real quick, what's the future of YouTube? So I know they just signed a big contract with the NFL. I know shorts continue to be pretty big. Live, you have AI, with what is the GPT tat or chat or whatever.
Chat GPT. Yeah. Chat GPT.
There it is. Yeah. What are your thoughts real quickly here? What's the future of YouTube?
Yeah. So the future of YouTube, I mean, they're really trying to be the all inclusive one-stop shop for everything that's content. related, right? So whether it's podcasts or your shorts or whatever, I think that they're going to continue to grow. I think that it's not going anywhere. I think that they're executing really, really well. And I think that they're compensating their creators well enough that they're like, if we wanted to switch platforms from what we're doing, there's nothing that compares to it in terms of the exposure that you can get from it and the amount of compensation that's possible with it. There's just no competition there. So it's going to continue to grow.
I agree.
She agrees.
Chantel, any resources that you can share with scheduling, organization? I know you're doing a lot of that in the background. What's working for you? Do you have a particular calendar system? Like, for example, I use the Full Focus Calendar or Planner by Michael Hyatt. What's your secret? What are you turning to?
I do the actually old school. I'm very paper oriented.
Okay.
So not either. I mean, it's one of those, I get all of us our own little calendars and from off of Amazon as cheap as I can. And then each day I write like the boys' to-do lists. I write our to-do list. And, you know, even at the end of each week or even at the beginning of each month, I'll make sure that everything's filled out of like activities that we have to do or what videos are going to be going live when they're going live or what we're needing to record kind of thing. So then everyone's on the same page. It's really about, you know, find what works for you. If paper doesn't work for you, get a whiteboard. We also have a whiteboard. I mean, it's just, you have to find what works best for you. He gets post-it notes.
Yeah.
I mean, he uses his iPad. But we do find that for some reason, it's just that mental actually writing it down and like striking it out when it's done and things like that. That seems to work best for us.
Yeah.
Mark, can you have too many YouTube channels?
Yes, you can.
What's the limit?
As much as you're able to handle, really. I mean, you have to be keep in mind that burnout is definitely a thing with YouTube. You can get to this point to where you feel like you have too many things to execute on and you can't balance it all. And so the risk with that is then you'll just give up, right? And you won't publish or produce anything else. Or you'll delete your channel, right? So we don't want that. We don't want that, right? So I highly recommend, even though we have multiple channels, I highly recommend having one channel, focusing on that. And then if you feel like you have the capacity to grow another channel too down the road, that's fine. But I really would stress the fact that you have to, and I'm horrible at this. You have to make sure that you're focusing on one core thing and then getting it to the point that you want it to be before moving on to something else. Because the more that you fracture yourself, the harder it is for you to execute on everything. So I have to always remind myself and keep myself in check that, you know, maybe I shouldn't execute on these 20 things today. Maybe I should just be 3 or 4 or 1 versus, you know, trying to fit too much in.
Chantel, can a person post too often in a day on YouTube that will hurt them?
Oh, on YouTube.
On YouTube. I mean, I would say yes, but I think the consensus for a lot of people is no.
So a person could upload 3 videos in the same day and it wouldn't necessarily hurt them. Like algorithm and all, that's what I'm talking about. Not necessarily burnout and things like that.
That's
but
more for him to answer.
Okay.
I think.
Yeah, that's a good question.
What are your thoughts?
So you can hurt well, it depends on your strategy. If you're going after a search strategy where you mainly want your content to be found through search, like keywords and people typing things in, then I don't think there is really a limit as to how many videos you can upload in a day. I would recommend batching your content and then scheduling it to drip out like once a week. That would be a better strategy. Unless you just have a ton of content that you need to get out there, then by all means, just publish as much as you want. Now, you can, that's more of a loaded question. You can burn out your subscriber base if you do that, right? So if you have a large subscriber base and you're publishing things left and right, you might frustrate some people that way. But again, if your strategy is more search based, then the more content you have out there, the more Google and YouTube is going to promote it to people that are looking for that content. Okay. If you're looking at a different type of strategy, if you're looking at YouTube has different algorithms. They have a discovery or a browse algorithm and what's it called? Trying to think of the name. Anyway, the browse algorithm, the suggested algorithm. So those you don't want to publish too much. So if you're trying to do more like a vlog style, you want people to follow you, you could, it would be better for you to probably limit it to once a week. So that way, once a day at most, because you want to give the algorithm time and room to breathe to where it can promote your content out. So real quick distinction, search-based traffic on YouTube is about 25% of the traffic on YouTube. Suggested and browse, so that second strategy I talked about, that's about 75% of the traffic on YouTube.
Wow.
So it's a huge bucket. So in my opinion, it's also harder to get traction. Well,
it's harder to maintain. It's harder to really break into, because you have to, because think about vlogs. The person has to post pretty much every single day. They might be able to do it once a week, but they have to make things really interesting. So, doing outrageous things, that's usually how they'll finally get broken into. For like, I filled my house with 1,000 cats.
The Mr. Beast style content, right? Yeah, that's his entertainment. His is all suggested traffic, right? People aren't looking for, I don't know. Maybe they are now, but like, what's Mr. Beast up to, or what would Mr. Beast do in this situation? That kind of stuff. It's the outrageous stuff that people will share and that people will watch, that YouTube will say, oh, people like this content, so it's going to promote it more. That makes sense.
You're saying the suggested browse strategy is a little bit more challenging, even though it's about 75% of where people are going to find you.
It's more rewarding. Yeah. If you nail that strategy, sky's the limit for your success. Yeah. With search, you're limited to how many people are looking for that specific topic at that time. And YouTube does a really good job of balancing search with, the suggested videos and all that. If you can hit both of those too. I've had videos, I don't want to make it sound like it's an either or, but you do need to pick a strategy. Like, what are you really going to be targeting on this? Is it going to be more search-based, or is it going to be more discovery-based? And just kind of let the chips fall where they may. But in our opinion, I think the search is easier, because it's easier to find those gaps and things that people are interested in, because you have the data there.
Well, and they're long-term too.
And they're long, yeah.
Because the thing is I filled my house with 1,000 cats. Or is someone actually going to be searching for that? Or is that going to be a short-term kind of thing? It's like, oh, this was so funny, but in a couple of years, it might cycle again. Yeah. But it's one of those, it's going to fall off the radar.
Yeah. The search base, you can see more of a gradual climb. And then that style video, you're going to see a big push in the beginning, and then it's going to flatten out. It's going to plateau. Right.
Should you post your YouTube videos on other platforms like Facebook, or does that slow down algorithms? Or should you just keep it on that one platform?
Okay, you can.
Well, this is a little bit of a tricky situation too, because there's so many varying thoughts. I personally think giving YouTube its time to deal with and figure itself out is good. Now, I don't necessarily do that with adventures. I do push sometimes it right away, but then what I do is I come back about a month later and I'll post like a reel or a short kind of thing later on to kind of bring back the traffic onto Facebook and things like that. So then it's a little bit different, but yet it'll help drive it back to YouTube.
Gotcha. Okay. This is great. Looking at what you guys have shared over this last hour, there's at least 9 or 10 strategies that I have observed and picked up, which is fantastic. I think this is going to be very valuable for everyone listening. You are continuing to convince me to stick with it as well. I think that's the hard part, though, like figuring out exactly what you want to talk about. You guys talked about authenticity and being yourself, and you guys have multiple channels. So I think all of that is able to come out in that way. So there's still that flexibility. It doesn't have to be this either or, only one channel. If you wanted to have multiple channels, that's still going to be a better option than just having all these different random videos that your subscribers aren't really going to know, like, okay, what's he going to post next?
Yes, 100%. And you don't confuse the algorithm either as much, right? So because Google can see, I mean, it ranks every video on its own, but it also kind of looks and sees, it knows generally what people are interested in your content for your channel. And so if you're mixing up audience buckets on your channel, then you're going to confuse Google a little bit too. So it's going to take Google longer to figure out, okay, well, who are you trying to reach with this? And it might even give up. It might say, I don't know, and then just stop. Right. So
I think
Google
gave up with me. Yeah, I think Google gave up with me. Like, I don't know. I don't know who this is here. This makes no sense.
Well, I'm happy to talk with you more about your strategy at another time. I'd love to help you with that. So.
Well, I appreciate your time, both of you today. Love you both. Appreciate what you guys are doing. Really happy with the great success that you guys have. What a blessing that is. Final thought. It can be whatever you want to share with the audience, if it's pertaining to YouTube or family or whatever the case may be. I want to start with Chantel, and then Mark, you can have the final thought. Chantel, one last thing you want to share for those who are listening today.
Celebrate every moment.
Love it.
I mean, one view, I mean, like just in the YouTube realm too, celebrate, that one view, your video, just getting that one view, the one subscriber, whatever it might be, celebrate it, because it makes you, it just makes you feel better, but then it also helps you put out more, and putting yourself into there.
Awesome.
I mean, do that with all life too.
No, I understand.
I would say just get started. Don't overthink it. Just start putting stuff out there. You will get better over time. And if you think about it, you don't want to have a huge audience in the very beginning when you don't know what you're doing, right? So it allows you to practice and refine your skills. And the better you get over time, the more your channel is going to grow. And then you're going to kind of meet YouTube is a great platform for meeting your skill level when it comes to promoting your content, I feel like. And so, it's just one of those things that you just got to get started. You got to do it. You got to learn from action. You can't learn how to, it's one of my favorite sayings. You can't learn how to swim by reading a book. You can learn all the technicals on how to swim, but in order to really learn how to swim, you got to get in the water. So YouTube is the water. So just get started.
I love it. Just get started. Celebrate every moment. Mark, Chantel, thank you so much for being on the show. I really appreciate it.
Thank you very much for having us.